Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos, and today I wanted to make a video to help you prepare for patch 9.1. This week, there are a few things you can be doing that might be useful going into next week. Most of them are pretty small, pretty minor things that are, maybe nice things to take care of. The big things that you can be doing now are making sure you're caught up on whatever covenant you want to be, whatever renown you can get this week. If you can get up to renown 40, that's probably worthwhile. That's probably one of the biggest things you could be doing. Other than that, pretty much everything else is more minor stuff. The biggest potential thing is thinking about recrafting a legendary. That's something that you might be able to get some advantage out of right now. And there are a couple of other little weird tweaks around there that might be worth doing. So I'll talk about what kind of the most likely to maybe help strategy is. So first off, let's talk about why you'd want to recraft your legendary. Next patch, there's going to be domination sockets on Sanctum of Domination gear. Getting the 3 damage ones will be like a 7% damage increase. And then you can get a set bonus that'll work in Raid as well. So in Raid in particular, getting all 5 of your domination slots is pretty valuable. So these are those slots. But there are also some other things happening in patch 9.1 that are worth thinking about when it comes to figuring out where you want your legendary to be. So this is a spreadsheet that initially was sent to me by somebody called Ari. Then I added some information from a survival guide from somebody called Larius. And then I added some information myself as well to it from just various sources. So this is a chart of all the different slots that have something going on next patch. So here's how you read this. A green slot just is something that by default, there's no weird raid stuff going on in there. This next spot is referring to the fact that there's a Tazavesh necklace, which is a necklace that's either 226 or 233 from doing hard mode Tazavesh that has a proc that makes it probably pretty good up until 252 or 259 necklace at least, and maybe beyond there. And then the orange slots are where there will be raid BOEs you can purchase. This purplish slot is where there's a BOE slot that also is a domination slot, which you'll notice every armor type except for leather has those overlap on a type. And then the red ones are domination sockets, where those go. So you can see everybody has them on head, shoulder, and chest, and then each other armor type has it on 2 other spots. On top of this, I've added where the high item level drops from Sylvanas and Kel'Thuzad are. I put 259 in there, because that's going to be the Mythic item level, but 246 heroic gear, will also be better than the 240 heroic gear or 239 heroic gear you'll be getting from the other raid bosses. So it's possibly something that you'll want to think about, is crafting a legendary into a slot that doesn't have those 259s if you're going to be killing Mythic Sylvanas or Kel'Thuzad ever, or even if you're just going to be mostly heroic geared and you're going to be killing heroic Sylvanas and Kel'Thuzad, right? Because the gear you would have in those slots is better. So the way you can read this, as you can see, like these slots, the green ones without any text in them are the ones that will have completely no pressure from any potentially better raid items than the alternatives. So those are the ideal ones to throw your legendary into, if you can. There are also some unique items in the raid that I've listed over here as well. There's some weapons, and there's a hunter cloak as well. A cloak that only hunters can use that drops from Sylvanas, that's noted here. And then there's a bunch of weapons. There's a hunter bow, the legendary bow, agi dagger, 2-handed strength sword, agi polearm, and fist weapon. These aren't the high item level weapons. There's a different list of those. Most of those don't have effects or anything. But these are weapons with unique effects, which are worth being aware of because they might be relevant for you. In particular, like the fist weapon looks pretty compelling. The polearm actually also looks pretty good. So these are if you want to look for where the unique effect weapons are as well. There are also other weapons that are 259 or 246 or whatever that dropped in the last 2 bosses. But none of this really impacts our decision-making right now because you can't craft a legendary onto a weapon anyways. So the main thing you can do with this is figure out if your legendary, particularly if your legendary is on one of these red slots, that's where you'll be most interested in potentially recrafting it. But even if it's on one of the slots with something else going on, that's where you can think about, okay, is this something else going to be something that I'll run into? Now, you can ignore this if you want. If you just are like, hey, I like where my legendary is right now, I don't want to have to bother recrafting it, Totally fine, especially if you're not going to raid, you're not going to get the domination slots. Makes perfect sense. If you're thinking, I don't want to grind the soul ash, so I don't want to do this recraft, you can instead do the recraft next patch instead, and that's totally fine. You will have more than enough soul ash next patch. The main thing to do there is don't spend the new soul cinders to upgrade your legendary from rank 4 to rank 5 if it's in one of these red slots, but instead just gather up some soul ash. I mean, you'll get a bunch just from the Torghast you do for soul cinders, and then you can just run a couple more Torghast, and you can do as many as you want for soul ash next patch. So this can be something that you do next patch, but there is a little weird incentive to do it now, and that is socketing your legendary. So we're not 100% sure how this is going to work, but there is a chance that it is worthwhile to socket your legendary item now, using the Season 1 socket item that you can buy from Venari, because that uses Stygia, it uses resources that we have right now, and then potentially you can upgrade it from rank 4 to rank 5, and it might keep that socket next patch. On the PTR right now, that does work, and on the PTR right now, Venari doesn't sell the Season 1 items. So potentially, what you can do is if you add a socket with Venari's item now to your legendary, then you upgrade it later next patch, it might just keep that socket. That's probably our best guess right now, is that it will work that way, which means our best guess right now is that it's worthwhile to do that process right now. A couple of other little quirks of this as well is it might be worth to buy an extra spatial realignment apparatus and just hold on to it in your bags, because again, Venari doesn't sell it on the PTR, but maybe this will work on a future legendary item that you can craft and potentially want to add a socket to. So yeah, it's a little bit of a weird thing to maybe do, but it might save you having to use the Season 2 socket item on your legendary if it's in that helm, neck, bracers, belt, or ring slot, which it's a pretty edge case where you'll be recrafting a legendary. But say you want to recraft off of helmet into ring or whatever, right? Then you would probably want to socket that ring this week using that item, rather than potentially have it go away and need to use next patch's socket system. So very weird thing to do, but definitely worth considering. One thing to note is that if your legendary happens to be in 2 red slots right now, if your legendary happens to be head and shoulders, like the shampoo brand, then next patch they are adding a 3rd slot where the legendary can go. So every legendary that's only in red slots right now is being moved to at least to exactly one of the other slots as well. So you can't pre-craft that one, obviously, because it's in, like, my druid is in this situation where my 2 slots are like hand helmet and feet or something for the legendary I am currently using, and they're adding a wrist for it next patch. So there's no recrafting that I can do right now for it, but I will do that next patch. It means I'm missing out on the pre-socketing potentially, but whatever. You do what you gotta do. Okay, so that's the legendary recraft min-maxing theory. A little discussion there. I will put a link to my version of this spreadsheet below. Again, most of this work came from Ari and Larius's survival guide, which I'll also link that in the description below if you want to go check that out. It's got a bunch of other good information. I just lifted the 259 locations from that. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Let's talk about some of the other things that you can be doing. So there are a few currencies as well. Valor, you can spend in increments of 750 right now, and Valor is almost certainly getting a reset next patch. So first best thing to do with your Valor, upgrade any gear pieces that are worth upgrading that you'll use at the start of the next patch. The second best thing is to go and have a little conversation here with Kotul, and you can purchase whatever sells best out of 10 heavy callous hides, 20 Alethea ore, and 20 lightless silk, using increments of 750 Valor if you happen to have some extra. So that's definitely something worth considering. Another thing that is maybe a little bit less clear is what you should do with any extra honor that you have. I'm less confident that honor will be reset. I think it's still more likely than not, but I actually don't know what % chance I would put on it. If there's any actual source that says honor is getting reset next season, that's worth knowing. The best I could find is this page that says the current season of Shadowlands PvP and M+ will end on Monday, June 28th, and it'll be no longer possible to earn seasonal rewards, titles, or rankings but it doesn't say anything about the honor or the valor. Valor's almost certainly getting reset so that the new Season 2 Valor comes in, but maybe, and Conquest will as well, but I don't know about honor. The thing about honor is, so maybe you'll decide you want to stockpile it just in case they don't reset it, and you can use it to buy next season's aspirant gear, if that's any good for you, or you can use it to upgrade next season's conquest gear. You can also use honor to buy some legendaries if you haven't already bought the legendaries that cost 1,500 honor each, or you can use 2,000 honor to buy 5 marks of honor. So if you care about Mark of Honor transmog or any of the stuff you can buy with Marks of Honor, go wild. Now might be your last chance to spend your honor on that, but also maybe hold on to your honor because maybe that won't get reset. I'm not sure. If anybody can find a source either way that confirms how that's going to work, do put that in the comments. That would be very useful. I will pin that if I see it, and it will be extremely helpful for me to figure out whether I care more about 6,000 honor or 15 marks of honor. Okay, so that's those resources. Another resource to think about is Stygia. So Stygia is a resource that it's actually worthwhile to come into next patch with at least a few thousand of, so that's something I'm going to be grinding over the next couple days, because there are actually some useful 9.1 things you can buy with Stygia. It's not like a crucial resource. You can't buy sockets with it next patch. You buy those with another currency. But for 2,500 Stygia, you can buy the thing that lets you unsocket Shards of Domination. You only need to buy that thing once, then you can just keep using it forever, but that's going to be worth doing. And there are a couple of other things that Stygia does purchase next patch. So I would say come into next patch, ideally with a socket item from Venari in your bags, just in case you can ever use that for something useful and they take it away on the patch, which they might. And also with a healthy stockpile of a few thousand Stygia. You can always grind Stygia again next patch. I think you'll get some from just doing regular stuff as well. But it's the kind of thing where may as well. If you're looking for something that might be useful to do right now, that sort of fits in there. It's probably not that big a deal, TBH, but, it's there. That is something you can do. Other than that, that's pretty much all I could think of with regards to next patch stuff. It is worth probably selling any trade goods that you have either now or early in the patch, because that's probably when they'll be their most valuable. The stuff that people use to make the new legendary, pieces will probably spike in price for the first couple weeks. So in terms of economy, that's probably my advice there. In terms of enchanting materials, I would definitely hold on to those until the patch comes out and people start having a need for enchanting their stuff again. You can see I've got my little augment rune collection here as well. I've been stocking up on those things. I'm not sure what the price will do on those, but I feel like it's more likely to go up than down. So I bought a couple and they've been cheap, and I've also been just hoarding the ones from my mission table. Okay, there's a quick little look at the things I'm doing to prep for the patch. There's really not too much there. The main thing to think about is looking at that legendary slot that your legendary occupies and considering that recraft. It is dumb that it works that way, but it does. So that's that. Hey, one more thing. Okay, one more thing I just remembered. This is a common question I've been getting is, what key level do I need to do this week in order to get a 15 key, say, next week? First of all, I think it'll probably be the 29th through 5th week that the key level... I'm actually not sure when the key level will change and the key scaling will change. My guess is that it won't be this first week and it'll be the second week. But either way, I think a 19 or a 20 key is the safe level where you'll get 14 or 15 out of it. They usually drop key level by 4 or 5 from what you did the previous week, going into whenever they do the scaling up. Again, I'm not clear whether that's going to happen on the 29th or the 6th. So, yeah, safest course of business is if you want to come into the new patch with a 15 key, just so you can immediately jump into those. Do a 19 or 20 key, or really just the highest key you can manage, both this week, and then if it doesn't happen on the 29th, then the week of the 29th also do the highest key you can manage. But yeah, probably 19 or 20 will turn into 15 if that's something that you're interested in doing early on in the patch. Okay, that's it now. Thanks everybody for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.